Now, if you were terminally online, like myself, you might have noticed Eve Fartlow trending on Twitter. Now, if you are not terminally online, then you're thinking, what the hell are you talking about? You weirdo. Well, okay. So let me give you the context because it actually turns out to be a story of somebody whining about cancel culture again. So now Eve Barlow is a self-described Zionist, and she has been, she's got some pretty, I think, in my opinion, terrible opinions, especially when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And so, as a result of some of those ideas, some of her tweets got ratioed on social media. Now she, was defending, of course, the Israeli attacks on Palestinians. Now those attacks, of course, devastated entire neighborhoods of Gaza, killing hundreds, injuring thousands. And while the attacks themselves have ceased with a ceasefire, the oppression continues. Neighborhoods like Sheikh Jarrah are still, seeing crackdowns by Israeli police, military police, and you have people being forcibly evicted from their homes to make way for Jewish settlers on basically illegally occupied land. Um, and of course, you have demonstrations that are happening in one of the most holiest mosques in East Jerusalem, and then you have Israeli police that again crack down on them as well. And so, while all of this is happening, Barlow is claiming that some mean tweets are akin to what she calls a digital pogrom. Mean tweets. Yeah. Here's what she writes. Uh, Quote, perhaps it was a form of digital waterboarding aimed at forcing me to surrender, delete all my accounts, log out of all my devices, and commit what she calls digital suicide. These are her actual words. Like, and then adds, Eve Fartlow is not my name, regardless of how many thousands of times it's echoed back at me by trolls online. I coined it the world's first social media pogrom, the activity that Jews, Zionist Jews in particular, experienced all over the web was bizarre at best and invalidating, abusive, and dehumanizing at worst. Zionist Jews weren't just being unfollowed on Twitter for advocating for themselves and their brothers and sisters in Israel and Palestine. We were also losing access to direct messages and comment abilities, having posts removed for violating community guidelines, while blatant anti Semitism online almost never receives that same treatment, and having our accounts threatened with temporary suspension or closure. Now, remember, we are only talking about Twitter. So she thinks that she's being digitally waterboarded when somebody unfollows her for having a really terrible take online. What? What is this? Come on. Come on. It's crazy to think that an unfollow is, akin to silencing her, much less a digital pogrom. A little overboard, okay? And look, the nature of social media is that people will get mean tweets. All right. Yeah, I get mean tweets all the time. Now, she was getting mean tweets, getting mean DMs, comments. I'm sure some of them were, sexist, misogynistic. Some were, might have even been anti-Semitic. Yes, a shocker to find out that some people on the internet are mean. I know. I know. That's kind of a part of being online. Again, I get terrible messages all the time. I'm getting them as we speak. I see you. I see you. And so, unfortunately, that's the nature of online discourse. Twitter itself is kind of a dumpster fire. You learn how to navigate it, though. But the thing is, online discourse being a dumpster fire is not the same as digital oppression. Okay? And again, there is real anti Semitism that's going on. There are real threats of violence. I'm sure she's received some of them. I'm against all of that, 100%. But changing her name to Fartlow, not one of them. Not one of them. Again, take it from somebody who constantly, when I was growing up, being called Waldork. Okay, I don't care. I think we're both going to be okay, for having a nickname. And who hasn't had a terrible nickname growing up? Seriously. But let me give you an example of one of her tweets that got ratioed, by the way, that, kind of started this whole thing. Take a look. My Jewish friend saw a sign that said free parking and panicked that it said free Palestine. The Jews are tired. Why? For one, why is she speaking for all Jewish people? Now, as a non-Jewish person, isn't that I mean, I myself am a non-Jewish person, but like, I've always been told that if you try to, if you try to put them all in kind of a block, that's deeply anti-Semitic. Why would you do that? Doesn't make any sense. Uh, and not only that, but like, oh my God, I'm triggered by a free Palestine side, which really didn't even say free Palestine. It said free parking. Wow. How is how is this reality? This is there's a real conversation that we're having online now. Okay. Now her article gets worse because then she rails against celebrities who are, siding with the Palestinians who are getting the crap bombed out of them. Again, not siding with Hamas, siding with the Palestinian people who are suffering under illegal occupation. Okay? And so she says, you have Mark Ruffalo, Susan Sarandon, Dua Lipa, The Hadids, AOC, Elhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Halsey, Snoop Dogg, Manchester United, and the BLM movement, among many other influencers, including Jews like Sarah Silverman and Natalie Portman, all based, by the way, throwing their full support behind a reductive, inflammatory, and dangerous case against Israel. It's very appealing to join in. Oh, yes, of course, that mob mentality. Yes, that's what it is. All of them. The combined strength of their platforms is an excellent way to drown out the online voice of Zionists with the chutzpah to defend themselves and survive in this conflict, both in Israel and in the diaspora. Zionists literally run Israel. And for the longest time, that has been the only voice that has been represented in America. Now, 2 years ago, nobody could speak up, and for Palestinians, for the Palestinian people. And now they're able to. Now the Palestinians actually have a voice. And yet, you get this person saying, oh my God, no, they're silencing us. And besides, again, what conflict? It's not an equal conflict. This is a literal occupation that the UN has ruled illegal. Okay, the IDF gets billions of dollars from the United States in weapons. They have an incredibly advanced military with incredible capabilities, both offensive and defensive. Iron Dome, for example. I mean, versus Hamas, that's got some rocket launchers. Now, those rocket launchers, thankfully, are vastly ineffective. And I'm glad that they are. I don't want people dying. I don't want people getting hit by rockets in Israel. Just like I also don't want people getting hit by airstrikes in, buildings like reporters for the Associated Press, for example, and Al Jazeera that were bombed. I don't want, people getting bombed. I don't want neighborhoods being destroyed anywhere. And look, I think Hamas is a terrible organization. And I think that Hamas thrives as a result of the occupation. Okay? And the right-wing conservative government of Israel depends on Hamas to give them the justification of their increased militarism and occupation of Gaza. They have this weird, volatile codependence on each other, whereas you have innocent Jewish people and innocent Palestinian civilians that are getting caught in the middle of this. But apparently Eve Barlow, or Fartlow, and the people who push, to continue those illegal settlements, they're the real victims in this. Oh, yes. In fact, she had called, as an example of her victimhood, Linda Sarsour. Linda Sarsour had been blocked by Barlow. She's like, I'm going to preemptively block Linda Sarsour. And so, as a result, Sarsour tweeted, with a picture of the block. Great. Wonderful. And so Fartlow, after that, was like, this is an online lynching. That's what she wrote. Online lynching. You've got to be kidding me. Again, this is pure 100% Karen energy. And I get it. There is real anti-Semitism, but it's not an unfollow. Okay? It's not calling her a fart name. Okay? That's an example of the internet getting tired of your bullshit victim mentality. All right? If anything hurts your cause, makes you look bad, it's being a Karen that can't even take any sort of light criticism, especially for political positions that are no longer popular. Those political positions, by the way, are basically in favor of oppressing a certain group of people who are right now forced to live in the world's largest open-air prison. Get some goddamn perspective. Perspective. And by the way, Seth Rogen, fantastic what he said about Fartlow. So, I mean, let me give you an example, by the way. Speaking of responses to this, some of the tweets that are dunking on her. One person says, honestly, this is hilarious. Fartlow just really self-owned so hard, and her article is way beyond dramatic, talking about being digitally waterboarded. Effing go outside. Get some air. Step away from the internet for a while. This is like Barry Weiss all over again. What is it with people and their just incredibly thin skin? Another person says, when we fart high, she fart low. Digital waterboarding right there. Do you see that? Terrible, terrible. Another person says, Eve, darling, if any of your ancestors died or survived in an actual pogrom, like mine did, you just sharded on their memories for the rest of time. Great work. Great work. And then, of course, just thousands and thousands of tweets simply saying, Eve Fartlow. It's the Streisand effect, which, by the way, is probably going to be replaced by the Fartlow effect. Digital pogrom, everybody. Digital pogrom. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.